are so many different religions? Why does humanity, for thousands of years, keep searching for answers to the same eternal questions, yet come up with such diverse beliefs? What if I told you that each religion is a unique attempt to answer the most profound questions of life? Questions that every human has to grapple with at some point. Questions like, is there a God? If so, how many? What is our purpose here, and what happens after we die? These questions are not just philosophical musings. They shape the core of who we are and how we live. They influence everything from our moral values to our relationships, and even how we understand the universe itself. But because these questions are so deeply personal and often mysterious, the answers can vary greatly from culture to culture, and even from person to person. Now that we've set the stage by asking why so many religions exist, let's dive into two belief systems that choose to answer these questions by rejecting traditional notions of God. In the next chapter, we'll explore atheism and agnosticism, two perspectives that challenge the need for spirituality altogether. Chapter 1. Atheism and Agnosticism. Not everyone turns to religion to answer life's biggest questions. For some, the idea of a god or higher power seems unnecessary, or even illogical. This chapter delves into two perspectives that challenge traditional religious beliefs: atheism and agnosticism. Atheism, at its core, is the rejection of belief in any god or gods. Atheists generally see the universe as a natural, self-sustaining system governed by physical laws rather than divine intervention. For them, the answers to life's mysteries lie in science, reason, and empirical evidence. Atheists often argue that there is no need for a god to explain the origins of the universe or the complexity of life. Instead, these phenomena can be understood through the lens of evolution, cosmology, and physics. But atheism is not just about rejecting belief in God, it's also about finding meaning in the here and now. Without the promise of an afterlife, atheists often focus on making the most of this life, building meaning through relationships, personal growth, and contributing to society. In a world without divine judgment, morality becomes a matter of human responsibility, shaped by empathy, reason, and the shared values of the community. Agnosticism, on the other hand, takes a more open-ended approach. Agnostics do not claim to know whether or not God exists. Instead, they argue that the existence of God is unknowable, at least with our current understanding. Agnosticism is, in many ways, a position of intellectual humility. It acknowledges the limits of human knowledge and the vastness of the universe, which may hold mysteries beyond our comprehension. Agnostics often explore both scientific and spiritual questions, but without committing to a particular belief system. They may appreciate the moral teachings of religion or the beauty of its rituals, while remaining skeptical about its claims of divine truth. For them, the uncertainty of existence is part of the human experience, and the search for answers is ongoing. Together, atheism and agnosticism represent two distinct yet interconnected approaches to spirituality. They offer a different way of thinking about the world, one that emphasizes inquiry, skepticism, and the possibility that some questions may remain unanswered. Chapter 2. Buddhism and the Path to Enlightenment. Imagine sitting beneath a Bodhi tree, your mind calm and still as you contemplate the nature of life and suffering. This is the story of Siddhartha Gautama, who would later become known as the Buddha. After years of searching for answers to the suffering he saw in the world, Siddhartha attained enlightenment and discovered the Four Noble Truths, which form the foundation of Buddhism. The first of these truths is that life is suffering, or dukkha. This suffering is not just physical pain, but also the deep existential dissatisfaction that comes from living in a world of impermanence. Everything we hold dear, our loved ones, our possessions, even our own lives, will one day fade away. This realization can lead to anxiety, fear, and suffering. The second noble truth is that the root of suffering is desire. It is our attachment to things, whether material possessions, relationships, or even our own identities, that causes us pain. We crave pleasure and avoid pain, but in a world where everything is transient, these desires can never be fully satisfied. The third noble truth offers hope. There is a way to end suffering, and that is through the cessation of desire. By letting go of our attachments and accepting the impermanence of life, we can find peace. This state of liberation from suffering is known as nirvana. The fourth noble truth outlines the path to nirvana, which is called the Eightfold Path. This path consists of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It is a practical guide to ethical living, mental discipline, and wisdom. Buddhism is not just a religion, it is a way of life. It encourages followers to look within themselves for the answers to life's challenges and to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom in their daily lives. Meditation plays a central role in this practice, helping individuals quiet their minds, observe their thoughts without attachment, and develop a deeper understanding of their own nature. While Buddhism began in India, it has since spread throughout Asia and the world, adapting to different cultures and taking on many forms. Yet at its core, the teachings of the Buddha remain the same. Life is suffering, but by understanding the nature of this suffering and letting go of desire, we can find freedom and peace. Chapter 3: Self-Affirmation versus Self-Denial. Spirituality. Spirituality has taken many forms throughout human history, and one of the most striking contrasts is between practices that emphasize self-denial and those that embrace self-affirmation. In many religious traditions, self-denial is seen as a path to spiritual growth. This idea is rooted in the belief that the material world, with all its pleasures and temptations, distracts us from the true nature of the divine. By renouncing worldly desires, individuals can purify themselves and become closer to God or achieve enlightenment. Monks and ascetics in religions like Christianity, Buddhism, and Hinduism often live lives of extreme simplicity, foregoing possessions, relationships, and sometimes even food in their quest for spiritual purity. Fasting, celibacy, and vows of poverty are common practices in self-denial spirituality. These disciplines are meant to cultivate humility, self-control, and a sense of detachment from the material world. The goal is to free oneself from the distractions of the flesh and focus on the deeper spiritual aspects of life. On the other hand, self-affirmation spirituality takes a very different approach. Rather than renouncing the world, it embraces it. Followers of self-affirmation spirituality believe that personal growth, empowerment, and the fulfillment of one's desires are integral to the spiritual journey. New Age movements, for example, often encourage individuals to manifest their dreams, harness the power of positive thinking, and embrace their inner divinity. This form of spirituality celebrates the self as a source of divine power and creativity. It encourages people to trust their instincts, follow their passions, and cultivate a deep sense of self-love and confidence. Rather than seeing desire as something to be overcome, self-affirmation spirituality views it as a guiding force that can lead to personal transformation. The tension between these two approaches raises important questions about the nature of spirituality. Is the material world something to be transcended, or is it a vital part of our spiritual journey? Should we seek to dissolve the ego, or should we embrace it as a source of strength? These are questions that each spiritual seeker must answer for themselves, and both paths offer valuable insights into the nature of the human soul. Chapter 4: Polytheism in Paganism and Hinduism. In the ancient world, polytheism, the belief in many gods, was the dominant religious framework. From the pantheon of Greek and Roman gods to the deities worshipped by the Norse, Celts, and Egyptians, polytheism provided a rich tapestry of mythologies and rituals that shaped the lives of countless people. Polytheistic religions often reflected the natural world, with gods representing forces of nature such as the sun, moon, oceans, and storms. These gods were seen as powerful yet fallible beings, with human-like emotions and relationships. They could be kind and generous, but also vengeful and capricious. Worshippers sought to appease the gods through sacrifices, prayers, and rituals, hoping to gain their favor and avoid their wrath. Paganism, a term often used to describe the polytheistic religions of ancient Europe, placed great importance on the cycles of nature. Seasonal festivals, such as the solstices and equinoxes, were times of celebration and communion with the divine. The gods were not distant, abstract entities, but were intimately connected to the natural world and the lives of humans. Hinduism, one of the world's oldest religions, also embraces polytheism, though in a more nuanced form. While there are many gods in the Hindu pantheon, such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Lakshmi, and Durga, these deities are often seen as different aspects of a single ultimate reality known as Brahman. This pluralistic approach allows for a rich diversity of beliefs and practices within Hinduism, all of which are united by a common spiritual goal: to understand the nature of the divine and achieve liberation from the cycle of rebirth. In both paganism and Hinduism, polytheism provides a way to explore the complexity of the universe and the many forces that shape our lives. The gods are not just distant figures to be worshipped, but are seen as active participants in the world, influencing everything from the weather to human relationships. This connection to the divine through nature and ritual creates a sense of harmony between the spiritual and the material worlds, offering worshippers a way to find meaning in the everyday. Chapter 5. Hinduism: Karma, Reincarnation, and the Cycle of Life. In Hinduism, the concept of karma plays a central role in shaping one's destiny. Karma is the idea that every action, whether good or bad, has consequences that ripple through time, affecting not only this life, but also future lives. It is a law of moral causality, where the deeds we perform today determine the conditions of our future existence. According to Hindu belief, the soul, or Atman, is eternal and undergoes a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth known as samsara. This cycle is driven by karma, with each lifetime offering the opportunity to either accumulate good karma or incur bad karma, depending on one's actions. The ultimate goal of Hindu spirituality is to break free from this cycle of rebirth and attain moksha, or liberation, which is a state of union with Brahman, the ultimate reality. Reincarnation is a key aspect of Hinduism's pluralistic belief system. Unlike some religions that offer a singular path to salvation, Hinduism allows for a wide variety of spiritual practices, all of which are seen as valid ways to achieve moksha. Whether through devotion to a particular deity, meditation, selfless service, or the study of sacred texts, Hindus believe that there are many paths to liberation. This inclusive approach reflects the diversity of Hinduism itself, which has evolved over thousands of years and encompasses a wide range of beliefs, rituals, and philosophies. From the ascetic practices of renunciation to the joyful celebrations of festivals like Diwali and Holi, Hinduism offers a rich tapestry of spiritual practices that reflect the complexity of life and the human experience. Karma and reincarnation are not just abstract concepts, but are deeply woven into the fabric of Hindu society. The idea that one's actions in this life will affect future lives encourages moral responsibility, compassion, and a sense of interconnectedness with all living beings. It is a reminder that our actions have consequences and that we are all part of a larger cosmic cycle of life and death. Chapter 6. Sikhism: One God, No Idols. In the 15th century, a spiritual revolution began in the Punjab region of India. Sikhism, founded by Guru Nanak, emerged as a powerful response to the religious and social divisions of the time. Rejecting the caste system, idol worship, and the many gods of Hinduism, Sikhism introduced a new vision of spirituality, one based on the belief in a single, formless God who is both immanent and transcendent. For Sikhs, God is not confined to a physical form or image, nor is he distant from the world. Instead, God is present in all creation and can be experienced through love, devotion, and selfless service. This belief in the oneness of God is reflected in the Sikh concept of Ik Onkar, which means one God. It is a powerful affirmation of the unity of all life and the interconnectedness of the universe. One of the key teachings of Sikhism is the rejection of idol worship. While many religions, including Hinduism and paganism, use physical representations of gods in their rituals, Sikhism teaches that God is beyond human comprehension and cannot be represented by an image or statue. Instead, Sikhs focus on cultivating an inner connection with the divine through meditation, prayer, and ethical living. Sikhism also places a strong emphasis on social justice and equality. Guru Nanak and the subsequent Sikh gurus taught that all people, regardless of their caste, gender, or background, are equal in the eyes of God. This belief in equality is reflected in the Sikh practice of langar, a communal meal that is served to all visitors at a gurdwara, Sikh temple, regardless of their social status or religion. Sikhism's rejection of ritualism and its emphasis on direct communion with God make it a unique spiritual path, one that encourages individuals to seek God not in external symbols, but in their own hearts and actions. Through devotion, humility, and selfless service, Sikhs strive to live lives of compassion and righteousness, always seeking to uplift others and honor the divine presence in all creation. Chapter 7. Deism: A Distant Creator. In the Age of Enlightenment, as science and reason began to challenge traditional religious beliefs, a new way of thinking about God emerged. Deism. Deists believe in a creator god, but unlike the gods of traditional religions, this god does not intervene in the world. Instead, he is like a clockmaker who, after creating the universe and setting it in motion, steps back and allows it to run according to natural laws. For deists, the universe operates as a vast, orderly system, governed by principles that can be understood through reason, observation, and science. Miracles, divine revelations, and supernatural events are rejected as unnecessary, as they would imply a flawed creation that requires constant intervention. Instead, deists believe that God's design is perfect and that the natural world is a reflection of his wisdom and power. Deism was particularly appealing to many thinkers during the Enlightenment, a period marked by a growing emphasis on rationality, individualism, and skepticism of religious authority. Figures like Thomas Jefferson and Voltaire were influenced by deist ideas, and deism played a significant role in shaping the intellectual climate of the time. However, deism is not just a rejection of traditional religion, it is also a profound affirmation of human reason and the power of inquiry. Deists believe that by studying the natural world, we can gain insight into the mind of God and understand the principles that govern the universe. This belief in the harmony between science and spirituality has continued to influence modern thought, offering an alternative to both atheism and religious dogmatism. While deism does not provide the personal, intimate relationship with God that many religions offer, it appeals to those who see the divine in the order and beauty of the cosmos. It is a way of understanding God not as a distant, judgmental figure, but as the source of the natural laws that govern life, and as an inspiration for the human pursuit of knowledge and truth. Chapter 8. Judaism. God's chosen people and the awaited Messiah. Judaism is one of the oldest monotheistic religions, with a rich history and a deep sense of identity rooted in the covenant between God and the Jewish people. According to Jewish tradition, God made a covenant with the patriarch Abraham, promising that his descendants would become a great nation and that they would be chosen to live by God's laws and to be a light unto the nations. Central to this covenant is the Torah, the sacred text of Judaism, which contains the laws and teachings that guide Jewish life. The Torah is not just a set of rules but a way of life, encompassing everything from ethical behavior to religious rituals, from the treatment of others to the worship of God. For Jews, following the Torah is a way of fulfilling their covenant with God and maintaining a close relationship with the divine. One of the most enduring themes in Judaism is the belief in the coming of the Messiah, a future leader who will bring peace, justice, and redemption to the world. Unlike Christianity, which sees Jesus as the Messiah, Judaism believes that the Messiah has not yet come. The Messiah is expected to be a human leader anointed by God, who will restore the Jewish people to their homeland, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and bring about an era of universal peace and prosperity. This messianic hope has sustained the Jewish people through centuries of exile, persecution, and hardship. Despite the many challenges they have faced, Jews have maintained a strong sense of faith and identity, grounded in their belief in God's promise and their commitment to living by His laws. Judaism is not a monolithic religion. There are many different levels of observance, from Orthodox Jews who strictly follow the laws of the Torah to Reform and conservative Jews who take a more liberal approach. Yet all Jews share a deep connection to their heritage, their faith, and their enduring relationship with God. Chapter 9. Islam. Jesus as prophet and the final revelation. Islam, the world's second largest religion, shares many beliefs with Judaism and Christianity, but it also has its own unique teachings and traditions. One of the most significant differences is Islam's view of Jesus. While Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God and the Savior of humanity, Muslims regard Jesus as one of the greatest prophets but not divine. In Islam, Jesus is known as Isa, and he is revered as a messenger of God who was sent to guide the children of Israel. However, Muslims believe that his message was not the final revelation. According to Islamic teaching, the final and complete revelation came through the Prophet Muhammad, who received the Quran, the holy book of Islam, from God. The Quran is seen by Muslims as the ultimate source of guidance, a text that corrects and completes the earlier revelations given to the prophets, including Moses and Jesus. Islam teaches that Muhammad is the last prophet and that the Quran is the perfect, unaltered word of God, meant to guide humanity in all aspects of life. At the heart of Islam is the belief in Tawhid, or the oneness of God. Muslims believe that God, or Allah, is the sole creator and sustainer of the universe and that nothing in creation can be compared to him. This emphasis on monotheism is reflected in the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith, which states, "There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger." Islam also places great importance on submission to God's will, which is the literal meaning of the word Islam. Muslims strive to live in accordance with God's guidance as revealed in the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad, known as the Sunnah. This includes performing the 5 pillars of Islam: faith, prayer, charity, fasting during Ramadan, and pilgrimage to Mecca. For Muslims, Jesus is a revered prophet who performed miracles and taught people to worship the one true God. However, they do not believe in his divinity or in the concept of the Trinity, which sets Islam apart from Christianity. Instead, they see Jesus as part of a long line of prophets, culminating in Muhammad, whose teachings offer the final and most complete revelation of God's will. Chapter 10. Christianity. Jesus as the bridge between God and humanity. Christianity is unique among the world's major religions in its belief that God became human in the person of Jesus Christ. This belief in the incarnation, that God took on human flesh and lived among us, is central to the Christian faith, and it sets Christianity apart from other monotheistic religions like Judaism and Islam. For Christians, Jesus is not just a prophet or a teacher, but the Son of God, who came to earth to bridge the gap between humanity and the divine. According to Christian belief, all humans are separated from God by sin, which is a condition of rebellion against God's will. This sin creates a barrier that prevents humans from having a close relationship with God. However, Christians believe that through Jesus' death and resurrection, this barrier has been broken. By willingly sacrificing himself on the cross, Jesus took on the punishment for human sin and made it possible for people to be reconciled with God. This act of sacrificial love is seen as the ultimate expression of God's grace, and it is the foundation of Christian faith. Central to Christianity is the belief in salvation by grace. Unlike some religions that emphasize the importance of good works or following religious laws, Christianity teaches that salvation is a gift from God, freely given to those who have faith in Jesus Christ. This belief is encapsulated in the famous verse from the New Testament, "For it is by grace you have been saved, through faith. And this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God." Ephesians 2:8. Another key doctrine in Christianity is the Trinity, the belief that God exists as 3 persons in one: the Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. This concept of a triune God is unique to Christianity and has been the subject of theological debate for centuries. However, for Christians, the Trinity represents the fullness of God's nature: his love as a Father, his sacrifice as the Son, and his presence as the Holy Spirit, who dwells within believers and guides them in their faith. Christianity has spread across the globe with over 2 billion followers, and it has taken on many forms, from the rituals of the Roman Catholic Church to the evangelical fervor of Protestant denominations. Yet at its heart, Christianity remains a religion centered on the person of Jesus Christ, who Christians believe is the way, the truth, and the life, the bridge between God and humanity. Chapter 11. The uniqueness of religious claims. As we conclude our exploration of the world's major religions, one thing becomes clear. While each religion offers its own unique answers to life's most profound questions, they all share a common goal: to provide meaning and purpose to human existence. Whether through devotion to a single God, the worship of many gods, or the rejection of the divine altogether, religions offer a framework for understanding the world and our place in it. However, it's also important to recognize the distinctiveness of each religion's claims. Christianity's belief in the incarnation, Islam's emphasis on the final revelation, Hinduism's concept of karma and reincarnation, these are not just different interpretations of the same truth, but unique perspectives that shape the way billions of people experience life, death, and the divine. At the same time, many of the core values that underpin these religions, compassion, justice, love, and the search for truth, are shared across cultures and belief systems. These values transcend religious boundaries and offer a common ground for dialogue, understanding, and mutual respect. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, it is more important than ever to appreciate the diversity of religious thought and practice. By recognizing the uniqueness of each religion's claims, we can engage in more meaningful conversations about faith, spirituality, and the human experience. And by focusing on the shared values that unite us, we can work towards a more harmonious and compassionate world. Ultimately, the journey through the world's religions is not just about learning facts or comparing doctrines. It is about understanding the many ways in which humans seek to answer the deepest questions of existence. And in that understanding, we may find a greater appreciation for the rich tapestry of beliefs that make up the spiritual landscape of our world.